No, season 2 new thing.
Season 2, cheers. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Bleducation. I am Brando.
I'm Mia.
All right. And today we're going to talk about
the Titanic. Dun, dun, dun.
All them white people that is drowned in the ocean, froze.
They wasn't all white though.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. Most people think that, they were mostly white, but, there were some other people there. When we're talking about equity, okay, how people are,
this is a buzzword for this month, y'all.
How people are being treated, okay, we can get right into it. All right.
I want to talk about, before we get into it, and I want to tell y'all, the only reason that we are talking about the Titanic is because Brandon is absolutely obsessed with the Titanic. This man, a weird obsession. The way he will randomly just start talking about Titanic facts or like wedge it into a conversation, I have to respect it because who knew there were that many facts about the fucking Titanic?
There are so many things that they should have done differently for it not to have been the biggest maritime disaster in the world at the time. Like, I just don't understand. Like, there were so many signs. Like, I don't get it. But anyway, so most of us know, about the Titanic from watching the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, with this fictitious story of romance. But I like to think about the facts, about the things that happened with this massive ocean liner at the time. So, Titanic was commissioned, I want to say in 1911.
That was a very long time ago.
Yeah, so definitely over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And then it went into service in April of 1912 on its maiden voyage. So they left from Southampton, England. So I guess that's some city over there in England, somewhere.
I don't think they call them cities, though, right?
Town, something.
Isn't it like a province?
Sure.
I don't know. That may be wrong too. That may be the equivalent of like a state. I'm not sure.
They were somewhere. Okay, they left somewhere. Then they went to Ireland for a few days and picked up some more people, and then they got on the road. Well, the sea, the proverbial road. It was like the sea,
the water.
Okay,
they got on the water.
All right. First red flag is that we have a near collision with another boat, straight out the gate with another boat. That would have been it for me. Let me off the boat.
No, for real, like pull over and give me one of these little side boats.
I have to go.
You gotta go.
I have to go. Like, no, that was it. Like, but no, during this time, the Titanic was definitely quoted as like a luxury ship. And then a lot of people know that the infamous line is that only God could sink this ship. So it was like God was like,
bet.
God was like, watch this.
I love those.
He was like, watch this. So with the Titanic, I really wanted to focus this episode on the actual breakdown of what actually happens leading up to the collision, and then what happens during the sinking of the ship, and maybe a little bit of the aftermath. So okay, so the Titanic has all these rich people on board, all these famous people. We have Bruce Ismay, who is
that the rich one?
Well, he was rich, but he was like pretty much so. The Titanic, their company was called the White Star Line, and he was like one of the representatives. You have Edward Smith, who is the captain. And
no, that's not the rich one either. Okay, I'm gonna show you.
No. Like... So this is actually ironically supposed to be like his last voyage as a captain. Well, technically, I guess
no bullshit.
I mean, he did go down with the ship. So I mean, but he was initially going to retire after this voyage, which I mean, technically,
he retired already.
He retired permanently from life.
He's 6 feet under.
Yeah, well, maybe more like 800 because he.
Did they ever get the people down there?
No, the people was on the ship.
Y'all, that has never occurred to me that they were still in the water.
So they did recover some bodies, but we'll get to that. But
okay,
but like a lot of bodies, like they was on the ship. Like, bye. But okay,
it never occurred to me.
All right, so we all know Titanic gets hit by an iceberg, but we have to.
Or does it hit the iceberg?
But well,
sorry, we have to specify.
I like what you did there. I like what you did there. So I just want the people to know that it wasn't just like a random, like, oh my God, this is an accident kind of thing. Like, the people had warnings, okay? Like, that's what people don't know about the Titanic is, like, it was a totally preventable accident, right?
That's really wild, though.
And I'm telling you, if I was a survivor, I'm going to court. Yeah, run me all my coins.
Yeah, I'm taking all your things.
Run me my coins for emotional trauma, all the things.
PTSD,
I need all of it.
Because once y'all hear this story, I just heard it today too. It's fresh to me.
Okay, so the first thing is during this time, okay, it's heavily advertised around the world that the Titanic is like this luxury mega ship, and it was quoted as getting to New York within a certain amount of days. Okay, so they wanted to make the papers, okay, which they did, but not for the right reasons. But they wanted to make the papers for making record time to get from England to New York, right? Okay. So with that being said, for most of the journey, they are going just below full speed, right? And I don't know much about physics, but I do know that, like, the faster you go, the harder it is to control.
And stop.
Yes, and to stop. Yes. So, couple of things that are happening before. Okay, so down below deck, there is a fire that a lot of people don't know about that is raging for most of the actual journey. It was on fire. So that there are claims that this also weakened the infrastructure of the ship.
That feels like a pull over type of situation. Like, that feels like we should dock for a second and figure out why the damn boat is on fire. Type of situation.
I mean, so they were able to control it, or I guess contain it in, I guess, one of the compartments, but it was just like they weren't really able to put it out. And I'm just like, to me though, yeah, that's a no for me.
Flag on the plate.
That's a no for me. Also, we know the Titanic does not have the amount of lifeboats that they need to have. So they have about 2,200 people, I want to say, that are on board, and they have lifeboats for, like, I mean, less than half of those people. And get this, so the reason that they don't have all the lifeboats they need is an aesthetic reason. They say, we don't need all these lifeboats because the only place that they would have been able to put all the lifeboats to accommodate all the passengers would have been on the deck. And so they were saying, like, oh, well, that looks very cluttered. That does not look appealing for pictures, for image. And so we don't need all these lifeboats.
But can we be real? What was they even doing on this boat in 1912 or whatever this was? What were they doing? What were they doing? There were no fun activities. There were no cell phones. What was they doing? Out there drawing?
Well, they did have something like, I mean, fun for them. So they had like a pool, so they could go swimming, like in the pool, not in the ocean. You know, well, you know. Big ass boat. They had, like, I mean, I guess it was like their version of Carnival, like the Carnival cruise ship. But like they had like a gym. They had first class. Well, let me backtrack. First class had all of these things. Okay, there were some.
They have in a gym. I'm sorry,
you know,
they didn't have no treadmills or nothing back then.
I mean, they had like a little. I don't know. They had like.
I'm sure they had rowing machines.
Yeah, they had those. But you know, a lot of these accommodations were definitely for first class. So, like, you know, as Mini Leak says, they make it for you when you got the coin. You know, so
they gonna figure it out. Huh?
Yes. So, you know, but quite a few people actually were in second and in third class. Mm-hmm. Third class are mainly going to be your immigrants that are coming to America for a new life, and I want to say third class, like all of them all together, they shared like maybe like one or two bathrooms versus like first class who they have their own bathrooms. They're getting these 5-star course meals. They have like these cigar and brandy
That's so
rooms. You have people like John Jacob Astor, who is literally one of the wealthiest men in the world.
That's the rich one.
Yeah, that's the rich guy.
Yep.
On the same ship as people who don't even speak English and literally have no money to their name. So, like, when you look at the range of people that were on the ship, It was just pretty crazy.
I wonder how that works out. Just like, because the Titanic was sold as this like luxury experience, right? Mm-hmm. So like, if they're paying like a crap ton of money, like I know obviously the experience is not the same, but I wonder what like financial.
Well, I don't. So third class tickets are not going to be obviously as expensive as a first class ticket, but a lot of families like saved and scraped up all their pennies, or did something where they exchanged like labor or work in order to get passage to America. More sense to me. Okay, cool. So all of this is happening during this time. All right, so we have a fire raging on board. We also and the captain is just like, oh, okay, this is all cool, right? So we're gonna fast forward to like right before the night of the collision. Okay, so there are a lot of factors that are in place that kind of like set them up for failure. Okay, so during this time, you have the wireless operators that are on board, and these are going to be the people that are going to be getting the weather reports from other ships in the area and stuff like that. But the thing is, they do not work for the Titanic company. They work for their own wireless company. And their priority is to actually get messages from passengers on the ship to people on land, right? So that's their main job, right? And so the wireless had broken down like maybe a day or two before. So the people that are working this wireless and passing these messages, they have kind of like a backlog. It's kind of like, you know, when you take off from work and then you come back and you have all these emails. Yeah. So it's like that. So like the priority during this time is not getting these messages from other warnings from other ships about all this ice that's in the area. Their priority is trying to get these messages caught up, right?
And the message didn't even matter.
Yeah, you actually have a wireless operator who actually he tells a ship who's trying to send a message about ice, like he's like, shut up, like stop, like leave me alone, like I'm trying to do my work right now and send these messages. So you get
that was important.
Yeah, so you get several messages from other ships about all these ice that's in the area, and like they're getting these messages and receiving these messages. Ask me if they slowed down their ship.
I know they didn't, because it crashed.
They did not slow down their ship.
And they're already almost speeding.
They're already, they're like maybe a couple of knots below their full speed. They are speeding and they're not slowing down. Also, when you look at lighting, they have starlight, but starlight is very weak when you're in a pitch black ocean. There was no moon night of the sinking, so the only lights that you're going to get are the starlight and then the actual light that's coming from like the actual ship. But like for all intents and purposes, like it's pitch black out there. Also, a lot of people don't know they actually lost their binoculars, the lookouts. It wouldn't have helped much because like you really wouldn't have been able to see too much. But
this damn boat had a lot of shit stacked against them.
Yes. Also, one thing that I learned is like the sea was very calm at the time, and that's an indication that you're near pack ice. Like so, that's something that was learned after. Also, it would have been better if the sea would have been a little rough because you would have been able to see the waves breaking on the icebergs, and they would have been able to navigate a little bit better. But because the sea was so calm, they did not know. So around 11:30, that's going to be when they have impact. They're going to iceberg straight ahead. So like they have like probably like maybe like a window of like 2 or 3 minutes to try to correct. And they actually made an error. So actually, if they would have like reversed the engine and stopped it and not tried to swing to avoid the iceberg, the ship would have hit the iceberg straight ahead, and you would have had some damage, but it wouldn't have been fatal.
Right.
Like, so what they tried to do was, by the time they get the message down to the navigation room, he's swinging the ship, but in swinging the ship, he actually makes things worse. And so the iceberg has a massive underpart that kind of like rips open the hole. And actually what actually happens, or what is something that they looked at, was a lot of people assume that like it was just like a dragging motion, right? But actually, what happens is like you actually, instead of one big gash, you have actually a bunch of different gashes over about the span of like about 300 feet. But you have big enough gashes, like boom, 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 and they're all gonna let in water. The bolts are gonna pop, and then you're gonna get your seawater that's coming in. So the Titanic was built to have a certain amount of watertight components, but there were too many that were open, so it's going to start to take on water immediately. The people that are in the very bottom, like, so these are your crew members that are doing the coal and all this stuff to fuel the ship. These are going to be the first people to go. Because the watertight compartments are going to lock. So, like, if you've seen the movie, like, it locks and it locks them in. So it's pretty bad during this time. But even then, like, there was just no sense of urgency immediately. Like, people were like, okay, this is like this big ass ship. We're not leaving. Like, like, actually, like, when the iceberg hit, at the top, chunks of it like fell onto the deck, and so they were like playing football and stuff, chunks of ice.
But that's giving very much white people.
Yeah,
sometimes it don't be clicking.
It's also going to be, this happens like relatively late at night, so 11:30. A lot of people are like not awake during this time. Yeah, but either way, as soon as the iceberg hits, the engines cut off. So now the Titanic is pretty much just like floating. And just kind of like just sitting there taking on water. The captain, he finds out that the ship is hit. He's like, oh, okay, like, how bad is it? There are going to be a lot of conflicting reports immediately. Like, you're going to have people say, oh, it's not that bad. You're going to have people say, oh, no, it's bad.
Right.
But he's wasting time, like, getting all this information.
Right, let's go do something.
So he's actually the ship, the architect of the ship is actually going to be the one that's like, oh yeah, the ship is about to sink. Like, he's actually like going to be the one that lets the captain know. But
like, what do you even do? Like, at that point, if somebody's like, yeah, this bad boy finna go down, like, and you don't have enough lifeboats to save everybody, like, what do you even do? Like,
so, I mean, it turned into, it wasn't chaotic immediately. It's going to turn into, like, and this is where I talk about equity. So third class, they're going to be towards the bottom of the ship. They're going to be further away from deck. So you're going to have stewards that are going to, and they're doing this, like, casually. Like, they're just, like, going to knock on the door, like, hey y'all, go put your life jacket on, like, and then they're telling people, oh, like, this is like, you'll be back in bed very soon. Like, there was no, like, a lot of people on the ship did not know just how bad this was, and this is going to be one of those things where it's like, well, if we tell people,
they're gonna freak out.
Yeah, they're gonna freak out. So they're just like, this is like a routine thing. You have your people like,
lying.
Yeah. So there's no sense of urgency immediately. The ship takes about 2.5 hours to sink all the way. And up until, so the ship sank around 2:20 a.m. But up until around 2 a.m., like, there's still power. Everything is still functional, like, as far as things that are happening. So, you're going to have, obviously, a tilt and stuff like that. And the Titanic is going to start releasing flares. But the ship, there is a ship that's closer than that actual rescue ship, which is the Carpathia. But, like, they had already turned off their radios for the night, like, and they went to bed. So, like, because you know what they did? You know what they did? They knew that there was ice there, and they knew that they couldn't see, so they stopped their ship. That's what they did, and they went to bed. And they say, we'll navigate this in the morning when we can actually see, But
Titanic gotta be first.
Common sense just isn't common, I guess. So so you have a lot of, like, the immigrants and stuff like that. They actually are locked on the ship. They are not able to access the deck. So like the Titanic was their tomb. You have most like when you look at the death rate of and compare it by class, women and children definitely were more so the ones to survive because of the rule of women and children first. Yeah. You don't really have a lot of men, especially in third class, that are surviving. You don't have a lot of men in second class that are surviving. And then, of course, first class is very much so British society at this time. So a lot of these men are gentlemen and, like letting the women go first. Now, let me tell y'all something about me.
He gonna take up space. Yeah, he's gonna take up space.
First of all, I wouldn't have been on that ship.
Right, because for real, after we pulled out, and that went, actually put it in reverse, Terry.
I wouldn't have been on the ship at all. But if I happen to have to be on this ship, like, sorry, sis. Like, it's like
he ain't right.
Like,
he ain't right.
What y'all want to say? What y'all want me to say?
You're supposed to give up your place. What about the children?
You know what? I teach kids.
Educator.
Okay, I'm thinking in 1912 that I don't know if I would have been an educator, during that time. So, I mean, if it's you or me,
it's looking very you-ish.
It's looking very me-ish. Like, it's what did Issa Rae say? It's feeling like me time. It's feeling like me season. It's
you ain't
like me
no
season.
Damn good.
Yeah, like
I say the kids.
Yeah, okay.
I say the kids.
I love that for you. I love that for you.
This man going to hell. Don't let him take y'all with you.
Well, with him. So, with the Titanic though, so the class that obviously had the most had the highest survival rate is going to be first class.
Yeah.
And it's mainly going to be women and children during this time. And so they are being put in these lifeboats. There is no set like procedure for there's no training, there's no plan. So half these lifeboats are being lowered and they are not even at full capacity. And
you already don't have enough.
You already don't have enough.
Come on,
they're not at full capacity. They are cutting them with knives and stuff. Some of these lifeboats are capsizing or flipping over when they're in the water because the Titanic is huge. So then you have people I'm not trying to leave this ship and be on this little lifeboat in this water. And
you know what? I am one of those girls.
You would have probably
stayed on it. I probably would have just died. Yeah, because at some point, is it worth it? Like zombie apocalypse. No. Don't look for me out to fight no zombie. Don't look for me. I'm gonna be somewhere taking a shot of tequila.
Well, it's funny that you say that because a lot of the gentlemen, especially in first class, that's what they did. They went and sat down. They were like, well, we know we're about to die anyway. Where is the brandy? Where's
I'm literally about to get drunk. I'm going to lay down and I'm going to die peacefully. I promise.
They also did in the movie, the band thing is true.
Oh, yeah,
so
they kept playing.
They're going to play lively music.
That's nuts to me, though. Yeah, that's crazier than... I don't... That's because I'm not playing nothing for y'all. I'm not here.
But they were trying to do it to keep people calm.
I don't care. This boat is capsizing. I'm not going to be up here playing no violin for y'all. I'm not going to do that.
Me both. I would have been gone. There's only on record. There's only one black man who was on the Titanic, and that's I say record because I'm sure a lot of these people who are immigrating did not have they might not have had all their documents and stuff like that, or they might not have been registered as being on the Titanic.
Right,
but there is one confirmed black man that was on the Titanic. He unfortunately did not make it. His wife and children did. He was a Haitian engineer. And his wife was Caucasian, so he was actually in a interracial marriage, which was not, really... the people didn't like that back then in those days, but
fair enough.
Yeah, I always think about what would have happened if it was just been a whole bunch of black people in the Titanic, because we would not have been
what you mean, black people? Just if the Titanic was filled with black people in general, or if it was more black people to judge him being in an interracial marriage? What are we talking
about? Just them being on the Titanic.
I feel and I really do. I feel like black folks would have found a way to have more survivors, and I'm not even gonna.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like we would have been putting people on our back. Like we would have been putting babies in bags. Like we would have found a way. Like we would have been breaking pieces of board off so we could float. Like we would have found a way. We may not have made it to shore or nothing like that, but we would have found a way to get off that boat. Look, we also probably would have listened. Yeah. Oh my God. We also probably, people when they was like ice, we probably been like, ooh, now's a good time to stop.
Yes. You feel me? So, so like I said, it took about almost 3 hours to sink. It does, like in the movie, it breaks in half. It does actually break in half. And I just really imagine those last 20 minutes, like being in pitch black darkness and not knowing what's about to happen. There actually is an account of a guy who, like in the actual movie, you have Kate Winslet. She's like on the other side of the boat, like, and they're saying the boat's about to go down. And there's a guy, and he's like has his little flask, and he drinks. So he's based off of a real life. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's based off of someone that like a real life guy who actually survives, and he survives because he got drunk. And like they say
his body warmed up. When
they say liquor is a coat. So like he was actually able to survive.
I would have laid down to die, but I might have survived.
Yeah. So and then like you have obviously, all the lifeboats are moving away from the ship as it's sinking because they don't want to get caught in the suction of the ship, and they also like know that there are all these people in the water who are going to actively try to get to these lifeboats, like after the ship is clearly sinking, and they're like, "Well, we're not going back because like we about to be in the same position they in." So I mean, boats did eventually go back, but a lot of people died. Like. Well, yeah, but it was too late. I mean, it was below freezing. Like, so a lot of people are going to die within the first few minutes from like shock and hypothermia. And like they're gonna go into shock, and then like they can't move their bodies anymore, so they're gonna drown during this time.
That's so sad.
And then you had a question about like were they able to like go get like these bodies? So the Titanic, the people that were on the ship, they didn't really get them. But so most of the bodies that they're going to be recovering over the next few weeks are actually going to be like from people who are actually in the water and like who actually died in the water. So this is going to happen. And then afterwards, like, are the lawsuits, and
because would have sued the shit out of them.
No, like not just them.
Oh, I was like,
the company is actually going to charge survivors for like equipment like the life jackets, different. Yeah. Yep.
The fucking audacity.
Yep.
Are they serious?
Yes. I'm like that. Like they literally.
I would have lit their building on fire. They literally
were sending bills to the families of deceased people for property. For property law.
I would have blew their headquarters to bits.
Listen. So, with that though being said, though, obviously, like I think that's one of those.
They didn't lost their damn mind.
I think that's one of the most wildest, the craziest thing that I've ever known.
They didn't lost their damn mind.
Yes. But after this, though, you're going to get national laws regarding, like, you need to have enough lifeboats for as many people that are going to be.
Really blowing me.
The audacity, yes. You're going to have different laws now. This is going to be, obviously, worldwide news because you have so many celebrities, like, during that time.
And it was international.
Yeah. So you're going to have a bunch of people who pass away. You have, I don't know if y'all seen that old couple that's on Titanic. They actually were the founders of Macy's. Obviously, we have the Astors, who are like basically New York royalty at the time. And John Jacob Astor is going to be like this, like I said, one of the richest people in the world, if not the richest person in the world. He might not have been the richest, but he had money, but he's not going to make it. You just have a lot. You have Colonel Archibald. What's his last name? I don't know. But you have all these people that prominent people in society who don't make it. So this is going to be like a really, really big story. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit something.
I learned a lot.
I mean,
number one, never trust boats.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fly.
Yeah. Well, I actually grew up on the water. My dad is actually a pilot on a boat.
Nope.
And I spent a lot of time on the water, but I also know red flags for on the water.
Nope.
And when they get the fuck. Yeah. Nope. So people, if you're going to be out, pay attention to everything. We got caught in the rain last time we were on the boat. It was terrible.
Nope.
Yeah, it's awful. But, be
the
mindful.
The water, the ocean has never been my ministry. And I don't think that it ever will be. Yeah. I will take a plane.
Fair enough.
Okay. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. All right. We will catch you next time. And once again, I am Brando. I'm on land. Okay. I'm staying on land.
He's so annoying. What? I'm Mia. It was great having y'all today. Hope you learned something.
All right.
We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
What up? It's your boy, Brando from the Bando. Actually, I'm from the suburbs, not the Bando, but that's okay. I'm here to say thanks for watching the Polaris Network on YouTube. For exclusive shows and premium content, subscribe to the Polaris Network on YouTube right now. Seriously, what are you doing? Go subscribe. Go do it right now.